With the final text of the verdict of the Supreme Court in the case related to the citizenship of Rabi Lamichhane yet to be obtained, Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal has decided to hold the Ministry of Home under his jurisdiction for the moment. Good evening, I'm Sarah Chitrakar and these are the headlines of the hour. Premier Dahal decides to hold the Ministry of Home Affairs under the Office of the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers until full text of the verdict on Rabi Lamichhane case is made public. Nepal ranks 110th in the Global Corruption Perception Index. Transparency International says Asia-Pacific nations indifferent towards efforts to curb corruption. An exotic comet causes excitement across the world. The green comet makes its first approach to Earth in 50,000 years. And can officials dwelling on crucial agendas including lifting of the suspension on former captain Sandeep Lamichhane and recent dispute of Nepal T20 League. A dialogue was held earlier today between Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal and Rashtriya Swatantra Party chairperson Rabi Lamichhane, whose Deputy Prime Minister and Home Minister status was scrapped due to his citizenship issue. Lamichhane, who had met with Prime Minister Dahal immediately after his citizenship certificate was reinstated, on Friday held talks with the Premier earlier today as well. Balatar sources have said that discussions were held regarding the Ministry of Home Affairs. Prime Minister Dahal is in a state of dilemma as the RSP has warned of quitting the government if the Home Ministry is not given to them. Lamichhane had lost his status of a lawmaker following the Supreme Court verdict regarding his citizenship certificate. Premier Dahal, meanwhile, is making efforts to keep the Ministry of Home Affairs, which is currently vacant, under his own jurisdiction. Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal has decided to hold the Ministry of Home Affairs under the Office of the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers until the full text of the verdict of the case related to the citizenship of Rabi Lamichhane is made public. At today's meeting of the officials of CPN Maus Centre held today, Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal said that a decision regarding appointment of the Minister for Home Affairs would not be taken at the moment. Dahal said that the meeting had suggested making a decision regarding Home Minister after the full text of the Supreme Court's verdict is available, and further added that discussions would be held with the parties in the ruling coalition in this regard. Members attending the meeting of the officials of CPN Maus Centre, which lasted for 2 days, stressed on Prime Minister having the Ministry of Home Affairs under the Office of the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. The meeting has also decided to make efforts for consensus regarding the presidential election. The meeting is also understood to have delved into the change in the responsibility of members of the party. Tomorrow's meeting of the Standing Committee is to decide on such changes. CPN Unified Socialist has drawn the government attention towards finding an outlet to the economic crisis. The party has also demanded initiating a campaign to free the economy from corruption. Submitting a 20-point memorandum to Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal earlier this morning, CPN Unified Socialist has demanded necessary initiatives to address issues of economic crisis. Saying the inflation has added plight to public life and worst affected those under the poverty line, CPN Unified Socialist have also urged for putting an end to the requirement for the young population to seek jobs abroad. The memorandum has also demanded improvement in the deposit and loan policies for the banking and financial institutions with a maximum of 4% interest rate on deposits and 7% on loans. The party has also demanded curbing inflation, improving the expensive election mechanism, recognizing media as an industry and ensuring timely availability of fertilizers for the farmers. Minister for Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation Sudan Kirati has expressed his dissatisfaction towards the operation of the Pashupati Area Development Trust (PADT). Minister Kirati, who was briefed by the trust in Pashupati today, has directed the officials to deliver results. Minister for Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation Kirati has directed the Pashupati Area Development Trust to formulate a calendar with immediate, short-term and long-term plans. Minister Kirati also added that he would regularly monitor the works of the PADT. Saying the revenue of the PADT was not transparent, Minister Kirati has directed the officials to serve social causes. The minister also added that the PADT had failed in bringing religious tourism by reaping benefits of Pashupati's relationship with neighboring nations. Meanwhile, State Minister Sushila Shripali Thakuri has directed for ensuring sanitation in the Pashupati Nath temple premises. Ministry Secretary Suresh Adhikari said that the PADT had failed in archiving the details of land of Guthis. He also directed the PADT to increase its capacity to earn revenue on its own by formulating plans and programs. Officials of the PADT had briefed about the development and construction works, revenue and expenditure details. Nepal has ranked 110th among the countries that report of corruption. According to the report issued by Transparency International, Nepal has scored 34 points out of 100 in the Corruption Perception Index and has been listed in the 110th position. Nepal had scored 33 points in 2021 and was in the 117th position. Despite negligible improvement this year, Nepal is still in the bracket of most corrupt countries. According to the list, Denmark has become the highest rated country in the Corruption Perception Index with 90 points, while Somalia has been listed as the most corrupt country with only 12 points. In the context of South Asian countries, Bhutan is in the 25th position, Maldives and India are in the 85th, Sri Lanka 101, Pakistan 140, Bangladesh 147 and Afghanistan 150. Meanwhile, China is in the 65th position with 45 points. Issuing the list, Transparency International pointed out that effective works against corruption failed to be conducted and corrupt government is not capable of ensuring public safety, which leads to people loathing the government and political upheaval. The organization further says countries in the Asia-Pacific region has disregarded actions against corruption. District Administration Office Gorkha has remained without a Chief District Officer and the Assistant Chief District Officer for 1 week. The district administration is operating under Administrative Officer Ganesh Prasad Bhattrai following the transfer of the Chief District Officer and the Assistant Chief District Officer. Gorkha's Chief District Officer Shankar Hari Acharya was transferred to Kapilvastu, while Siraha's Chief District Officer Lal Babu Kawari was transferred to Gorkha. However, Gorkha is without a Chief District Officer as Kawari was pulled by the Ministry of Home Affairs. Following the transfer of Assistant Chief District Officer Chitrangat Baral to Parvat, Pushkar Rana was to reach Gorkha as the Assistant Chief District Officer. However, Rana had not reached Gorkha until Monday. A worker has died in the tunnel of the under-construction 900 Megawatt Arun 3rd hydroelectricity project in Sankhasava, while 2 others have been injured. Police have said that the tunnel collapsed earlier today while the workers were working at the powerhouse location in Pukhua. The deceased has been identified as a 20-year-old Gole Tamang of Sindhupalchok, 38-year-old Mangal Tamang also from Sindhupalchok and 54-year-old Bhim Bahadur Pandey of Bhojpur have been injured. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance Vishnu Patel has stressed on the implementation of the knowledge and skills of students in society. Inaugurating the hydrogen production laboratory of the Kathmandu University in Thulikhel, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Patel said that the government was prepared to collaborate in such initiatives. Appreciating the contributions of the Kathmandu University in research, Minister Patel assured necessary support from the government. The Kathmandu University had built the hydrogen production lab at an investment of 25 million rupees. The university is of the belief that production of hydrogen from the lab would reduce the consumption of fossil fuels and help ensuring food security. Public have breathed some respite in the rural villages of western hilly districts following the availability of communication facility. The increasing use of information technology has brought families together. Local residents of Liwang, a Gaumukhi rural municipality in Bhutan, speak to their family members who are abroad every day. They do not feel the distance while having conversations with their sons and daughters through video chat. Such conversations through internet has not just erased the distance, but has also strengthened the family bonds. Most villages of Bhutan now have internet access, while the local residents have smartphones as well. Internet can also be used in these rural villages by using data packages from network service providers. The local governments have also introduced several programs to increase public access to information technology, communication and internet. The increasing use of information technology has also helped in reducing the gap between urban and rural regions. Several challenges have surfaced in higher education because of problems in monitoring of universities and academic programs. The National Planning Commission has suggested the government to address these issues. Higher education programs are available in 13 federal universities and 7 university standard health science academies. There are 5 more provincial universities. While these entities operate guided by acts and regulations, problems have surfaced in higher education. With the universities operating similar academic programs in the same districts and places, they are facing the shortage of students while quality has been compromised. With challenges in management of scholarships, ensuring quality, investment, research and studies and monitoring and assessment, the National Planning Commission has urged the government to address these challenges. Education experts are of the opinion that quality of education has been compromised as universities have granted affiliations to academic institutions established with the objective of meeting political goals. The Commission has said that issues have surfaced in health science academies. Experts have therefore suggested formulating a separate Higher Education Act with specific guidelines to address issues of the education sector. Provincial universities have begun facing financial crisis as they have failed to gain momentum. Meanwhile, 121,000 students have left Nepal to seek higher education abroad as academic programs in Nepal do not ensure employment opportunities. Therefore, it is imperative to ensure quality education at home, which also ensures jobs to curb the number of Nepali youth who leave the country for abroad. Time now for our segment, Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
Here's the question: why has the issue of taxi fares not solved yet? Your options are A. Helpless government, B. Taxi businesses' high-handedness, and C. Weak laws. Voting is on. Type any WS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Time now for international update. Ambulances transporting injured people continue to arrive at a hospital in Pakistan's Peshawar on Tuesday, a day after a suicide bombing ripped through a crowded mosque in a heavily fortified area of the city, killing more than 90 people, mostly policemen. At least 170 people were wounded in the blast, which demolished the upper story of the mosque, the main place of worship in the district, housing several police offices, as hundreds of worshippers performed noon prayers. A rescue worker said worshippers buried under the rubble of a collapsed section of the mosque were still being pulled out 12 hours after they started operations, and they were hoping to conclude evacuation efforts soon. Authorities say they do not know how the bomber managed to enter the area, which is protected by a series of checkpoints manned by police and military personnel. Defense Minister Khwaja Asif said the bomber was standing at the first row in the prayer hall when he detonated his explosives. The US has shipped 60 Bradley fighting vehicles to Ukraine as part of a new weapons package to help fight Russia's invasion. The United States has increasingly sent more capable weapons to Ukraine as the war progressed and Ukraine's needs changed. More complex weapons systems, including high-mobility artillery rocket systems and National Advanced Surface-to-Air Missile Systems, were shipped to Kyiv. Most recently, the United States pledged to send a Patriot missile system to repel a Russian missile and drone attacks. Training and other logistics still need to be worked out. Bradleys, the armored vehicle with a powerful gun, have been used as a staple by the U.S. Army to carry troops around battlefields since the mid-1980s. A green-hued comet that has been lurking in the night sky for months is expected to be the most visible to stargazers this week as it gradually passes Earth for the first time in about 50,000 years. The cosmic visitor will swing by Earth at a distance of about 42.5 million kilometers. The green comet was discovered on 2nd of March 2022 by astronomers using the Zwicky Transient Facility Telescope at Caltech's Palomar Observatory in San Diego. Its greenish emerald hue reflects the comet's chemical composition. It is the result of a clash between sunlight and carbon-based molecules in the comet's coma. NASA plans to observe the comet with its James Webb Space Telescope, which could provide clues about the solar system's formation. A nationwide strike underway in France in a second wave of protest against President Emmanuel Macron's plan to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64 has disrupted schools, public transport, and oil refineries. Protests are taking place across France after a first day of action attracted more than 1 million people. Half the country's teachers were reported to have joined the strike. The Macron government is pushing ahead with its pension age reforms in the face of opinion polls that suggest 2/3 of voters are opposed to the changes, which begin their passage through National Assembly next week. Without a majority in parliament, the government will have to rely on the right-wing Republicans for support as much as the ruling party's own MPs. Street protests are expected in at least 200 towns and cities, and a reported 11,000 police have been deployed to cover the demonstrations. There was a severe disruption to transport, with 1 in 3 high-speed trains running and only 2 driverless metro lines operating normally in Paris. One of the main teachers' unions said some 55% of secondary school teachers had walked out. At 62, France's retirement age is lower than most other countries in Western Europe. Italy and Germany have moved towards raising the official retirement age to 67, while Spain's retirement age is 65, and in the UK it is 66. Economists say the reforms were necessary because France had a structural deficit of some $14 billion, and raising the retirement age would also help increase the rate of employment in France. In Brussels, too, thousands of public sector workers protested to call for a strike over staff shortages. Unions have attributed difficult working conditions and problems with recruitment to a lack of personnel. Disruptions to transport and waste collections were expected as the demonstration took place from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. local time. Belgium's main trade unions have organized the demonstration to demand more purchasing power in the public sector. The Working Committee meeting of the Cricket Association of Nepal is yet to enter into the agendas. The dissatisfied 7 members have left the meeting with a written demand of resignation of the CAN president. On behalf of the 7 dissatisfied members, Rishiram Gautam had submitted the letter demanding the resignation of CAN President Chatur Bahadur Chand. In addition to Gautam, Chumbi Lama, Daud Ansari, Sanjay Raj Singh, Karan Mahatara, Amit Bir Pandey and Dharma Raj Giri had signed the letter. The dissatisfied members had also alleged of receiving the agendas late. Lama has said that they had demanded the resignation of the president in the beginning of the meeting. According to CAN Secretary Prashant Malla, preparations are underway to hold discussions on the agenda in the meeting of majority members after the departure of the dissatisfied members. Of the 7 dissatisfied members, 5 are CAN Executive Committee members, while 2 are the representatives of the National Sports Council. A total of 17 agendas, including the disputed Nepal 2020 League and removing the suspension of former captain Sandeep Lamichhane, were set for the meeting. Meanwhile, strategic partner of the Nepal 2020 League, Indian company 73 Sports, has corresponded with CAN, saying it's scrapping off the contract. The Office of the Attorney General has moved the Supreme Court demanding judicial custody of Sandeep Lamichhane against the High Court decision to release the suspended cricketer on bail. The Office of the Attorney General has filed an application at the Supreme Court demanding scrapping of the verdict of the High Court and taking the rape case forward by holding Lamichhane in judicial custody. According to spokesperson of the Office of Attorney General Sanjeev Raj Regmi, the decision of the Patan High Court to release Lamichhane on bail was legally wrong. Prior to this, District Court Kathmandu had decided to send Lamichhane to judicial custody in the case of raping a minor. Lamichhane had reached the High Court against the decision, which released him on a bail amount of 2 million rupees. However, the Office of the Attorney General has now reached the Supreme Court against the High Court's decision. That's all for the moment. Our next English bulletin will be at 10:30 tonight. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.